I've heard of people using AI for their relationship issues. This guy was in a relationship with this woman, stayed by her side through breast cancer for years, and then still ended up, she broke up with him because the AI told her to. Like use it for what it is, not for what it isn't.
So I'm in the process of finalizing my book, and I know I keep teasing. That's why I haven't been talking about it because what I realized that the component of the book I gave so much information, and I didn't have a course to align with the book. And if those of you who are listening, you want to give people some things that they could actually chew on and work out. We do realize that when people sign up for courses, they don't necessarily finish the course. They sign up, they're excited, they don't necessarily finish. I didn't want Awakening I Am to be one of those courses. So I took a little bit more time to really dissect and to regurgitate all of those things. And then so
Get
much has
notes.
happened in the world of AI that I had to update the book. So the book, probably by the time you're listening to this, the book is out. But the book is finished. It's really at the last goal line. However, I do want to talk to people that are working in the online space because we are watching two things change drastically. One is the way that we build out our funnels. A funnel is different from a website, and a funnel is purposeful for courses. If you have an online course, how you drive people down the funnel, and the lower they get to the end of the funnel, the better the response in economics because you're driving them to from a I'm just perusing to a I'm paying. But a lot of those don't work, and they don't work for a specific reason. And that's what this episode is about. My name is NaRon and Tillman. You are listening to Walk in Victory, where we sit you at the feet of the masters and we dive deep into conversations like this, where we help you, by the time you finish this episode, understand and or connect with people that are masters in their fields. But not only do we sit you at the feet of the masters, we have conversations to evolve your life. Dr. Rose, thank you for joining us. So when you hear the word funnel or and you see the landscape of what's happening today with the advent of AI, good, we woke up one day and AI was just there, chat GPT, open AI and all that stuff was just happening. What are you saying to people now?
Like, in terms of how AI has changed the conversation? I
Yes.
mean, it definitely has. I mean, it's made it so that for all of us that are in the expert space, it's made it a ton easier for us to create content, to get our message out. If you're not posting on social, like, what did you do? Like, it's not because you couldn't come up with a thought. Now you've got somebody that can debate your thought with you. So there's that end of it. There's that beautiful piece where it's like you have an at-home coach if you use
Yeah.
them. The misstep that I've been seeing with the use of AI, especially for entrepreneurs that are in the starting phases in that expert industry or expert space, is when they have AI create their methodology for them. So I've been on coaching calls with individuals, and no names, of course, right? Where they've said, like, oh, this is my methodology, and they'll give me an acronym for something, right? And maybe the acronym's like HELP, but like the H and the E and the L and the P stand for, whatever else. And I'm like, okay, great. Is that what you do? Is that your specialization? Is that your secret sauce? And they'll be like, oh, well, I mean, I don't really know what the L and the P, but with the E and the H, I mean, I can kind of do those. I'm like, hold up a minute. How did you get to this being your process? Because what you're telling me is it's not your process. What is this? And then it usually comes down to, oh, well, I thought I needed an acronym and I sat down with ChatGPT and this is what it gave me. And it's like, we now, as experts, have to be a ton more discerning. If we're using AI, our job is to use AI as an assistant, not as the major guide. And that doesn't mean it can't be a coach in some regards, but it can't take the place of you, your methodology, your brain, and how you support people. It is only a tool, at least at this point in time. And I know the AI's tools are the IQ level of the AIs are catching up. They're moving a little bit faster, but even still, if you look at it, oh gosh, there's so many times where what do they call the word? It hallucinates.
Listening, yeah, 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 that part.
Yeah, it'll hallucinate. It'll tell you something completely different that didn't happen. I've had people use AI, like not me, but I've heard of people using AI for their relationship issues. This guy was in a relationship with this woman, stayed by her side through breast cancer for years, and then still ended up, she broke up with him because the AI told her to. Like use it for what it is, not for what it isn't. Get a
So
counselor. Help.
we started on this foot, but we're going to transition to where we need to be. AI does have the hallucinogenic mindset. I wrote in my book, one of the things that I said is AI is like a teenager. They don't know the answer, but they're gonna convince you
Mhm.
they know exactly what they're talking about. Because instead of it
Totally.
saying "I don't know,"
Mhm.
it's two things. If you're listening, one, AI doesn't have a memory yet, and
Mhm.
their ChatGPT 6, which will unveil itself in 2026, has memory and will have emotions. So we'll pick up from where we left off yesterday, and if you're creating a project and you say, okay, hey, let's jump back into the project, and I want you to give me, and it's going to give you an answer, but it's not going to be what the conversation was. Just it's not
Yeah.
going to say to you, I don't remember what we talked about yesterday. Prompt me. And that's
Yes.
why prompting is so important, because we have to prompt every time we have these, every time we use these tools.
Mhm.
But what you do is very unique, because you help coaches to really, really package their online message, whether it's a coaching course or anything. Tell me, how did you find out that that was who you were and your secret sauce? Don't give away all your
So
secrets. Yeah.
oh, well, no. There's too many. No, but I actually, when I was younger, I had something known as selective mutism. So for 6 years of my life, I barely spoke, and I'm also dyslexic. I have ADHD, auditory processing issues. I was left-handed. They made me
Come
right-handed
on,
because it was the
you're
80s,
gonna
and
help
that's
me
what
out
they
with
did
that.
back then. But yeah, so I got to 5th grade and I didn't know how to read. And again, it was the 80s. It was the time period of just pass them along and whatever. But in today's education environment, somebody that didn't know how to read entering 5th grade, I probably would have been held back twice, increased likelihood for dropout and increased likelihood for the prison population. Like it was, that's where my trajectory would have been. And I had one teacher in Ann Arbor, Michigan, take me from that to the highest standardized test score that school had seen in 1 year's time. And so what she taught me was, so sorry, I have a tickle in my throat. Just 1 second.
Mhm.
What she taught me was the power that we have to create impact when we care and we know the right strategies. And so I'm so sorry. This
No
is bad.
problem.
I never get the tickles like this. And so I spent 10 years of my adult life trying to be Mrs. Taylor and try to emulate her. And I was working in primarily Title I schools, so a lot of kids from low socioeconomic backgrounds. and low economic backgrounds, and they'd go home at the end of the day on Friday, and you didn't know if they were getting fed till Monday morning. And so, a lot of people, when they say they want to do missionary work, I'm like, start here, start in America. There's
They
plenty
go
of kids.
overseas to do and then
Yeah.
and walk over the guy on the train. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm like,
I'm
we've
from
got
New York,
no,
so
same, right? No, we've got people here that need help, right? And so I spent a long time there really kind of honing my craft and working into like research-based strategies, like what moves the needle. I decided to get my doctorate in ed leadership. I thought I'd work for the Department of Ed, either at the state or federal level, which now I'm glad I didn't. But back then, I went to Tallahassee and on a doctoral class field trip, which was hysterical. But I met Department of Ed senators, House of Rep, and union reps. And what I found was everybody seemed really like miserable. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to commit my life to being in an environment where people don't feel good or happy about what they're doing. That's not to say everyone was. That was just my experience. So I'm in a world of beer one night, and in walk three internet marketers, and there's a great SEO joke in there somewhere. But they introduced me to affiliate marketing and online marketing, and they were saying things that I had never heard before. And so, once you get in that kind of space, you kind of start going down the rabbit hole. What can I read? What can I learn? What can I study? And they kept giving me online courses to take. And so I'm taking these online programs. And what I'm unpacking is they are just as bad as the worst classroom on the worst day. Like people teach how they've been taught or they teach how they've learned. And when they teach how they've been taught, it depends on what examples they've had. And when they teach how they learn, it's siloed. So they're missing how everybody else learns, right?
I'm out,
And
doctor.
so,
I have to
yeah,
ask you a question right there.
sure.
So you're saying
Mm.
because you just gave your history and thank you for being
Mhm.
so transparent.
Yeah.
Because I too I have what they call the jitters. I call them the jitters. I can't sit still. I'm
Yeah.
always I'm very inquisitive. I ask more than I'm given because I'm like this don't make sense. So you're saying you used your what society would call your imperfection to help craft and carve out a market.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, what society calls my imperfection is the same thing that Richard Branson has. He's dyslexic.
Yeah.
In fact, like one third of business owners are dyslexic. So if you don't need to know how to teach a population that is a little bit neurospicy in these online programs or how to guide them, you are missing the mark for most of these or for a good chunk of your audience. If your audience is business owners.
Can you say that again? Neuro what?
Neurospicy, so neurodivergent, not
I'm gonna use that. I had to add that to
not
my
normies. Yes. So,
neurospicy. I'm neurospicy.
there you go.
Guys, y'all been listening to me for a long time, Chad. I'm neurospicy, and I'm talking to Dr. Rose, who introduced me to that term. So, in our neurospiciness, how did you develop the business model? Because it's one thing you went from a path of not understanding who you were or not seeing yourself in society or fitting in, right? So you carved your way in. And the reason why I'm saying that is because when persons don't talk, they don't feel like they have a voice. When persons don't respond, they don't feel like they they're in the room. But now you are a thought leader. How did you come here of discipleship?
Okay, so the sound broke up a little bit, but I think what you're saying is like, what was like, how did I go from the education component into building the business model around it? And
The,
it wasn't a direct.
what I
Mhm.
what I was asking because I really want you to dive into this and you'll have the
Yeah.
floor. What I was really asking is like a lot of times when you have to overcome the things that you overcame, not
Mhm.
talking, not and now being a leader, standing in front of people. Let's unpack that. How did you overcome that fear of standing in a room being the thought leader, and then we'll go back. I'm going to go forward, and then we will work our way backwards.
Sure. How did I go from like as quiet as the wall to, getting up on.
Yes, that's a big thing.
So, yeah, good friends. I did competitive speech in high school, so into nationals twice in
Oh,
that. I did
oh,
drama, I did chorus. I have 2 degrees in theater. So, I taught, like, in front of 350 students at the University of Alabama because I was a TA. So, like, I started getting in the point where it was just, like, practice, and I can't say that I don't, like, almost vomit a little bit before I get up on stage. Like, it's pretty much every time. But, like, the truth of it is when you're up there, most of the people in the room don't want to trade places with you. And so it's like a really kind of like when you sit there and think about it that way, it's like they I don't know, at least in my mind, I feel them supporting me when people are in the audience. I feel their love for me and it's not like I'm so great, but more like, God's love for me. I feel it when people are in the audience with me. It's like it's no longer about me. It's not my ego. It's not the degrees. It's not any of that. Like I'm here in this room with these people in this moment. My job's to serve. So, like, I need to make sure that when they leave, they have what they need. And I don't worry about the rest of it. And then I get off and go, you know, like just a full moment.
is that like when you first had that experience? Because, and I'm really honing in on this because my personal experience. I started singing when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I would always finish it. So I'll close my eyes or turn my back to the audience and run off and drop the mic.
Yeah.
And I had a mentor. She didn't even remember that she said this to me. She said, "This mic is going to take you out of the projects. Don't drop your mic. You got a voice." And it gave me confidence because somebody believed in me, or they approached. I don't know what it was about her approach or what it was that she said to me, even though she didn't even remember that she said it. That helped me overcome that hurdle of being afraid of being judged or being afraid of
The same
not
way.
being good enough. So that's the only reason why I'm asking, because I personally went through what you I used to write my B's and D's backwards, and they put me in the front of the class and with a big B and D, big B,
That
little
all
B,
that.
little big D. And all my friends come in class, oh, he don't know how to write his B's and D's. So yeah, and I never expressed this on my show before.
Yeah, and what's really interesting too about dyslexia, not to go too far into it, but it wasn't that you didn't know your B's from your D's. It's that your brain really operated like the B's and D's are not flat on the paper. Your brain was like Iron Man. I don't know if you remember the scene where he like holds up his hands and then he's starting to like move computer screens around
Yeah,
and
yeah.
3D it and whatever. And that abstract model is how a dyslexic brains work. They're actually incredibly visually talented and they have trouble because the visual is so strong, the auditory goes down. And so what's really happening in there, when I say auditory processing issues, it's hard for us to pick sounds apart. So like if you close your eyes and I go it's hard to tell which one is which. If you close your eyes and I go that's the th and the f, and you can't necessarily tell the sound is actually different unless you're looking at somebody's mouth. Right? And so it's more about that. It's the visual being so strong that the auditory plays backseat. But it's not a weakness. It's actually a superpower in terms of abstract thinking. In fact, I would argue that your abstract thinking is probably on another level that sometimes people can't get to as fast as you can. You know?
Yeah,
You just you
that's my
just
superpower.
yeah, exactly. That's what's happening. It usually those things actually usually come with a high IQ because it's not because that's the cocktail. Like that's the all of those pieces together. I think the sound's breaking up.
So now coaches, and you sporting. Yeah, I said, now you're coaching coaches. and you've carved into that market. You saw a loophole in the market. And how did all of these things that we discussed prior help you to build what it is that you're doing now? Because coaches have egos, and to tell a coach that their coaching course is not good may come with a bit of
Yes.
trepidation.
Sure. No, absolutely. So I've actually uh, a couple of things happen, right? I had a mentor, one of the guys from the bar that I met that introduced me to internet marketing, kind of kept like showing me the world of online marketing, right? I didn't jump ship right away. I went to a Tony Robbins event, walked through fire, and then quit my job. So it wasn't like an immediate out kind of a thing. And even when I quit my job, I didn't know what I was doing next. I knew I'd be in the online marketing space, but I didn't even have it that this was what I was doing. I ended up teaming up with somebody that my original mentor introduced me to, and we became business partners. And one day she said, "Hey, Carrie, I'm going away for the weekend, but when I get back on Monday, I need to create an online course. No idea how to do it. Okay, talk then." Well, click. And it was just like that. And I was like, I know how to do that. And so I wrote my process that's based on over 500 research studies on the human brain and how it connects to content. And I built that out in a weekend. And then on Monday morning, I walked her through it. And she said to me, "You need to be selling this to other people." And so she got me my first couple of coaching clients that way outside of our actual business. But the year went on, and my now husband, I met him and we were dating, and he said to me, "You don't need to be working with her over here. You need to be doing this." And so it was really his faith in me that I was like, okay. And then we had my former partner and I had the most amicable breakup ever. It's like written in the history books of how nice people can be when they part ways. And I really just leaned into what my now husband's advice was in terms of that. And I got really lucky in terms of I got really good clients off the bat. So my first two clients were Anthony Trucks and Jay Bear, who was the second most retweeted by chief marketing officers the year that I met him. He speaks on 300 stages a year, at least before COVID. That was his numbers. And he, like, when I was reading one of his books, I was like, "Oh, Gary Vaynerchuk's in here. How did you get him?" He's like, "Oh, we're good friends." I'm like, "Oh, I should have charged you more." But so that was my thought there. But what I really found is working with these advanced individuals. Like I've worked with ClickBank, Digital Marketer was a client. I've
I'm
been around
certified
in this.
from several digital DM courses, so
Yes.
thank
So,
you.
yeah, of course. And so I've worked with really good marketers and really good thought leaders and really good authors, David Meerman Scott. Like, I've been so blessed. But what I've found is all of these people are always looking for how can I do it better?
Yeah,
So, I mean, you may think that they're like, "Oh, I'm on top of my game. I don't need someone telling me." And it's like, usually the best ones actually want that.
I'm looking to
It's the
get better.
same thing why, like, Michael Jordan had a coach outside of his basketball coach. He had another coach,
Yeah,
right? It's like the best in their games, they want that because they want to know how to make greater impact. And look, we've had clients get up to 97% completion rates when the industry average is 3 to 5%. So when you look at what that does on back end sales and numbers, I was hired to do an evaluation of a program and I wanted to fix the program. I really did, but they ended up selling the company. So I didn't get to, but when I first talked to them, they were doing 100 mil annually in course sales. So great numbers in that department, right? They were doing everything by the book marketing. They were doing excellent. They had a 3.9% completion rate on their online course and they had back end offers. 3.9%. And I'm like, yeah, what would your online backend offer profit be if that was raised to 10 or 15, let alone 97? You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So, like, the people that are really about their business, and especially if they're serious in this space, they want somebody looking at those kinds of things.
So Ryan Dice. So now that you said you work with DM,
Yeah.
Ryan Dice. The first lesson that I learned from them was how much are you willing to pay for a customer?
Mhm.
And in your online courses, what I've and I've done a lot of online courses. What distinguishes them is two things. And they've had people to walk away and start their own stuff and had to come back because he had he had this rhythm. One is the rhythm. How important is the rhythm of the course? And when I mean by rhythm, the time, they never let the intros go over 4 minutes. It was always in a certain time, the intros. They segmented the courses in a way that was like you had this ebb and flow because a person like myself, I couldn't sit down for more than 10 minutes or 20 without scrolling through my phone and all. How important is that when you're looking at developing?
Sure. So, I mean, really, the length of the course is however long it takes you to teach it. But I would argue that no courses should be over 4 to 6 hours max. Like, that's the sweet spot. Anything over than that, you're taking people's life force away. We've got this thing where, like, I'm giving time, so I'm giving value, but that's the wrong equation. I'm taking time, I'm taking your life force. Like, right?
Oh, so you
Really,
flipped it. Okay.
I
Okay.
flip it. So if somebody could pay you $1,000 and you could give them a wrench that solved their $10,000 problem instead of taking the program, they'd take the wrench, right? They don't it's not about that. They want their outcome. So some outcomes do come with learning. So I'm not like saying like, hey, they don't want a course at all. It's not it. But if you have something like that, it's more about like how fast can you get them from where they are now to where they want to be. And you have to really what Ryan's really good at and the whole team at Digital Marketers really good at and guiding others through is that point of like figuring out what are these people, who are these people and what do they want to buy? Right? That's the first part of it. And then it's what do they want to buy? But like in terms of stages is the other thing, right? So I've been inside of 25-hour courses before. I've been inside of 45-hour courses before. And like all I can say is no, I don't want to do that with my life. Right. Like, and so and you got to think nobody does, but sometimes course creators like get so excited. And to your point too, they've done research that not DM, other, another learning management system did research that found that people fall off at the 7-minute mark on videos. So anything over 7 minutes is a giant waste of time. And I would argue to your point, you said you play on your phone. I have a blocks game on my phone that I play on when I'm on a learning something that's not like client related, but like because I have to do multiple things at once. I
Yeah,
can't
I
not
can't I
do
can't
it.
function. I cannot not do multiple.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just a physical something I'm doing while I'm, learning. But I think those things are actually like okay. It's just a matter of like you have to monitor your comprehension, right? And monitor your meaning. What I mean by that, like that's for reading, that's for taking a program. If you get to the point where you don't know what the person said or you're thinking about what you're having for dinner, yeah, go back a couple of lines because you probably fell off. But aside from that, if you need to walk or move around, like these are normal things, but they've been kind of oppressed in us as learners because of the model of education that we have that's built on on the method that Ford was creating that really had more to do with the seat time, sit down, follow directions because you're going to work in my factory and nothing to do with how people
Yeah.
actually learn.
How
So
people actually learn.
mhm.
So when we find ourselves like being jittery, and that's what I liked about the DM because I've took other courses and they give you everything in one setting, but they'll take that one course and yes, it's 4 hours, but they'll segment it into chunk pieces, right? And then you're taking it so you don't feel actually when you finish the 7 minutes or the 10 minutes or however long, you get excited because you're excited to learn more. For me, I'm an
Yeah.
avid learner. I try to learn something new every day, whether it's about politics or money or whatever. You know, right now, like neuroscience, I teach mindfulness meditation. I'm a pastor. I learn about scripture. So,
Mhm.
but I have to do it my way.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
if you sat down and said, Take learn this," Imma feel like it's a chore, and
right.
it's and my mind don't work like that.
No, absolutely. I'm actually in a neuroscience course through Harvard. They have university classes for free on
Really?
Harvard right now. Yes, and there's one
For
in neuroscience.
neuroscience?
Uh-huh, it's cool. So, yeah, the learning shouldn't be a chore. It should be something that people are excited about, especially if you're creating an online course. It's like they want their outcome, and you have to think about what that really is. See, a lot of people go into it from Well, a couple of different perspectives. Like one is the, oh gosh, it's I call it the everything but the kitchen sink method, where it's like, I want to tell you everything that I've learned in my life because that'll help you. And it's like, nobody wants to be you. I don't know how to say that, but like,
You
it's not
just said
about
it.
you. No, but like, I have to be like kid gloves sometimes, Oh,
Yeah,
I do
especially
that.
when you charging your fees.
Yeah, well, no, but they do pay me to be honest, so that part's great, but, like, I do have a way of saying it nicer, but still, nobody wants to be you, they don't wanna learn everything you know, they just want their outcome, but if you can, like, really get that clear on terms of what you do that's super special, that isn't your process that came from ChatGPT, but is your process because you've done this over and over again, and you've helped people with this, and you know what this does for them, and that changes their finances, their relationships, their health, their
Yeah,
businesses, they are going to be excited about it. And if you can get them wins, like if you're
mhm,
actually having them apply it and they are getting wins and they're seeing those things in real time, they can be excited about learning too. It's just what's great about online courses is that nobody has to take them, right? So if somebody's in it, it's because they wanted to.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and so then it's just our desire to like make sure that we are serving while they're there and they're getting what they need, and that's the sweet sauce.
It's funny because this Sunday morning, past Sunday, I have the guest preach at another church,
Mhm.
and I preach about renewing the mind, and I said neuroplasticity. And I'm talking about how the mind is, you know,
Yeah.
pliable. Somebody from the choir said, "What the hell?" Because people are not talking about this, right? So when we do an online course, what we're trying to do is what?
Go get
The
them
the
to be
guy
in a
who
different
the
state.
person yes. What's the end goal of somebody that's doing an online course? What are we
Are you saying,
attempting
like, creating one or taking one?
creating?
Creating
Let's
one?
go from both
Too.
perspectives. The
Yeah.
creator, the creator
So
is has a goal and the
mhm.
taker has a goal.
Yeah, and so there's a couple of different ways to look at it too. So like the creator has a goal in terms of like that particular program imparting that particular wisdom to somebody else, right? Or that
Mhm,
SOP to somebody else. But there's also that from the perspective of they're building their business, right? And so they're looking
mhm.
at it in terms of
Yes.
like, what is the best monetization strategy for my business at this point in time? And usually an online course is what people get to when they are tired of trading time for money, right? Or time for money in the fashion that they're used to. So it might be what I mean by that, there might be an online course with a coaching or community component where they're still showing up, but they're not showing up to the degree to which they would be if they were doing one-on-one, right? And so there's that element of it. And so if there's somebody that's in the online program, well, they're trying to get that result. I mean, that's the main thing, and to your point, that neuroplasticity, that really comes from doing anything different. So,
Yeah.
like, if you're trying to, like, if you're, like, standing at home and you're like, "Okay, well, I might not be the best learner." I'm gonna tell you, if you brush your teeth with your right hand, go ahead and brush it with your left today. If you're used to going home one direction in your car, at the end of the day, change directions, turn left instead of right at some point, and then see how you get home. Because all of those little choices that we make that are different than the things that we usually do create that, and put us into an environment where we are just becoming a new person without even necessarily seeing it.
And there you have it. I told
Yeah.
you, we only sit you at the feet of the masters. You've had a master class with Dr. Rose. All of her information is at the bottom of in our description. We don't ask you for cash apps. We don't ask you for Venmos, and maybe I should, but we don't. But what we do ask is that you support our guests. One, that you follow them on social media, that you hit like and subscribe and share. And all these things are free. Just click, click, click. And most of all, that you don't walk making excuses. You don't walk with your head down. Together, we walk in victory. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.